I'm still in San Diego. We were renting a house from my in-laws, and the family ended up selling the house, and so we moved to a place called Old Town, which is pretty close to Point Loma. It's still in the Mission Beach, Pacific Beach area in San Diego.
All right. So tell me about what's going on. You have something pretty, you have a lot of news. You've been very busy. The Tourmaliners have been very busy. I'm starting to see a lot of activity specifically for the band. Not as much for the Safaris, but for the Tourmaliners. And you have some really special coming out for summer and then in the fall. And you have something to talk about that you want people to vote on. So I'm going to let you have the floor and explain it, and then we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's been a while. We I think we first did the show. I was one of your first guests back.
You were.
So it's good to be finally back again. But yeah, we've had a whirlwind. You know, between the Tourmaliners and Safaris. Yeah, the Safaris have slowed down a bit. My pops moved to Nashville, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago now, and so he's kind of semi-retired out there, and him and my mom have a nice place on the Cumberland River with a boat dock and, you know, boat, and kind of living the retired life a bit. But we play every once in a while. We've got a gig coming up. We're actually playing in Nashville, a place called the 5 Spot, April 11th with Eddie Angel, and he's got Chris Casello sitting in on guitar, and Jimmy Lester, original drummer for Low Straight Jackets, is going to be playing drums for him. So yeah, we're excited. So in the Nashville area, I think it's an early show. It's like 6 to 9 or something like that. But at the 5 Spot, and you can go to TheSurfaris.com, get more details on that, or Surfaris on Facebook, has a lot of stuff. Instagram, or you can go on my Instagram too, Deven Berryhill. There'll be stuff there. But so yeah, Safaris, we're just, you know, we play when there's cool opportunities, and that's what we do. With the Tourmaliners, you know, believe it or not, we've been a band for, actually this July will be 7 years as a band. So we're kind of, wow. We've gone through, yeah, it's a trip. We've gone through a number of different little seasons, 4 albums now. Some of you guys remember our first album. I have them here. Yeah. Tourmaline Dream. We did that back in 19, I think. And then
and that was with Reverb.
Sorry, you cut out. Say it again.
Oh, was that Altered State of Reverb?
No, that was just a self-release thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got ourselves, and that kind of. Those were basically just demos, to be honest with you. We weren't even really a band. We just kind of demoed a bunch of stuff, and it kind of solidified the band. And then, yeah, we went to Altered State of Reverb. We did the Surfin' Christmas parties, or Surfin' Christmas carols out.
Very cool.
Internet. Remember that? Yeah. We did that.
Yeah,
with
I do.
Josh.
Yeah.
Hit myself in the face with the album. There you go. And then we signed with Pacific Records, and we did the Surfidia album. We did that in 22. Yeah, into 23. And that one I brought my little award here, San Diego Music Award. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
We won a little trophy for that. It was pretty cool. That's we've got a really cool music scene here in San Diego. It's always been pretty rich. A number of groups and artists, like from Jason Mraz to Jewel to Switchfoot, POD to Iron Butterfly came out of San Diego. Yeah. Can you believe that?
Blink.
So Blink 182, yeah, right straight out of Poway, which is a suburb of San Diego, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of groups I'm not even naming, but San Diego's had a rich scene, and so they started the San Diego Music Awards, I think in early 90s, like 92, 93, to kind of recognize what's happening here and the vibrant scene. There's a lot of great clubs here, tons of great venues to play, and just the people here are very supportive of music. I mean, I moved here, I don't know, 25 years ago or so, and I remember just being so welcome as a musician, even just as a person walking around the street. It was just, I grew up in Orange County, closer to LA, not the same vibe. You know, the people here are so much more friendly and open, and you know, they look you in the eye and they're just like, "Hey, what do you do?" "Oh, I play music." "Well, what kind of music you play?" "Oh, cool. You guys playing somewhere?" "Yeah, we're playing this Saturday." "Oh, we'll be there." You know, and people show up.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's kind of that kind of town. You know, they're open to cool new music, and the radio here in the 90s was just hopping. It's still, we have this station called 91X that's pretty well known. It's kind of like K-Rock up if you're in the LA area. It's kind of like that down here, kind of alternative radio, but really was the most popular station, and they would host so many different events, and it was kind of like your concert calendar, your community calendar. The station still exists, and we go on there every once in a while. Of course, radio doesn't have the same footprint it used to, but still with probably more of my age group, a little bit older, people tend to still listen to radio. But, you know, we've got just a wonderful thing. So anyway, the San Diego Music Awards have been very kind. The media here in town is great, too, the press. We've got a friend, a guy named Bart Mendoza, who's really championed us in the media. And that's what kind of propelled us, I think, too, into getting the awards. So, yeah. So anyway, we were busy this past year. We do an annual Christmas party. We call it the Surfin Christmas Party. That's kind of our charity event that we do every year. We've hosted that before the Tourmaliners. I even hosted the event. Joe and I, the guitar player, we call it the pre-Tourmaliners. And before we were the Tourmaliners, we were the pre-Tourmaliners. And we would host this annual party for our charity. And so we did that. We had our 11th year. And we've got Gordon and Smith surfboards that sponsor us, and they always give us a free board.
Oh, nice.
I can believe that. Like a $1,500 longboard to auction, or we do a raffle, and then a bunch of other surf shops in the area. Bird Surf Shed, Claremont Surf Shop, some of the local eateries like Leilani's Cafe. Maybe you've heard me talk about that. You know, just the local Hawaiian cafe. Puts our albums on the wall and pictures, and you know, just cool stuff like that. You know, it's very, San Diego's just that cool town. I won't pump it up too much because we're getting a little overpopulated, and everybody wants to probably move here. People ask me, "How good's the weather there?" You know, I'll be in, you know, Fargo, North Dakota. How good's the weather? And I say, "Oh, it's so good you don't even notice it." You know. So anyway, so last year we thought at this Surfin Christmas party and beyond, we thought we'd capture what we do live, because people would come up to us and go, "Yeah, I love studio albums. Your studio albums sound great, but we'd love to just your live arrangements. You guys do so much more." So this year we did the Live and Alive. I see it there.
Nice.
There it is. Live and Alive album, and we did that on the same label. We did Surfidia. Of course, Surfidia came out on vinyl too. I don't know if you saw that.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
The live album sounds really good.
I'm sorry?
I said the live album sounds really good.
Thank you. Yeah, that's we put that on Pacific Records as well. That's a San Diego label that's pretty well known and has a bunch of great, kind of more beach sounding, whether it be reggae or Hawaiian surf. Kind of that Blink 182 pop alternative San Diego sound. Very, very beachy California kind of sounding label, and so they were nice enough to include us in their roster for a couple albums so far, and we plan on releasing more with them. So anyway, so that's been what we've been doing, but we've been playing we did Tourmaliners. We did the Surfer Joe Festival last summer, and that was
How was
amazing.
that?
That was, oh man, have you been yet?
No, but every time I see videos, it just looks like Paris.
Yeah, it's amazing. We had a great time, and we got to play and meet a lot of great bands from Europe. People like the Wasagas, Mark Malibu. I never met them. A lot of people I've met online for years. But you know, it's great to play with our bands. I got to sit in with Mark Malibu as well.
Really?
We did a cover. Yeah, we did a cover. He asked me if I'd come up and play lead on Safari's kind of B-side called Storm Surf. I came up and played that with them, and all kinds of great groups. Of course, the Safaris, we played the summer before at the Surfers Festival. So it was my second time appearing as me, but it was just great to hang out with Lorenzo and everybody there. So it's very cool.
That's awesome.
So this year we got, we're playing the Surf Guitar 101 Festival for the first time with the Tourmaliners. So that'll be fun. Safaris, we played that last year too. So I've been a couple times before, so pretty stoked to bring the Tourmaliners to that. We've got all kinds of great shows we're doing here in San Diego. Oh, we get to play the San Diego Music Awards actual event this year, which is held at one of our big concert venues called Humphreys by the Sea, and it's where groups like Ringo Starr plays there when he comes to town. Willie Nelson.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a major venue, and so they hold. It's kind of like an Oscars or a Grammys type event where they the podium and someone walks up and inducts you, and then they have some musical guests play in between. And so we're one of the musical guests. But this venue is like right on the water, by the harbor in San Diego. Beautiful. I mean, it's like quintessential, perfect, what you'd expect from San Diego. So we're playing that. And we've got a bunch of other shows we're doing here locally. Not a ton outside of the area except for Surf Guitar 101 up in Long Beach. That's August 1st through 3rd. So if you haven't got your tickets for that, go to stellarshows.net. Stellarshows.net for that. And we'll put that in the show notes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there'll be tons of links. There'll be your link tree, the Tourmaliners, socials, Stellar Shows, which we always try to help Jeff and the guys promote. That's important to get people to come out. I would love, for them to kind of like do a, like maybe a week vacation and like go see the shows in San Diego too. I mean, that would be. Sometimes they do that, like Surf by Surf West is up in Seattle. So, a bunch of the group goes up there, then they come down to SG 101. Maybe they could make a stop in San Diego.
Yeah, we'll probably be up north ourselves.
Oh.
We're the opposite. We're going north. They're coming south. So I don't know. Maybe we'll meet somewhere in Huntington Beach or something.
Nice. I love Huntington Beach.
Yeah. You came out.
Did you play the Surfin' Sundays?
We did a couple years ago. Yeah, we played. Yeah, that was really good. They told us we were the largest audience I think they ever had for a band that they'd had there for 15 years. For some reason.
Really?
I'm from Orange County. The Safaris, we're from Orange County, and at least my dad's Safaris. And then our drummer, John, he lives in Orange County, so he's got a lot of family there, and I got a ton of family out there, so friends. So we had a good contingent of OC friends and OC family and fans.
You ever think about the East Coast?
Yeah, it'd be fun to do. It's one of these things where it's always the finances, and the
Yeah.
time. We're not a full-time band necessarily. We're not like the Surfer Jets where we get, booked all the time kind of thing, and an agent that books us like that. So, we all keep regular jobs and that kind of thing. So it's a little more difficult to get away for, an East Coast tour. But, we're open to it. If time was right. I mean, we're thinking about, I'll put this out there. Lorenz, he hasn't put it out in stone, but it looks like we're going to come back out to Europe and play Surfer Joe next summer. So attached to that, we might do a European tour connected to that. And but yeah, I'd like to come back out and play the East Coast, do a number of shows there. That'd be great.
Nice. Now Surfer Joe will be here. I'll be in Vegas, but Surfer Joe I actually bought tickets to go see that. I'll be leaving like the day before to go to Vegas with my wife. So I'll miss the show, but I did see them in Philly before. Of course, they were. Lorenzo was cool. But you have something like a contest going on right now, right?
Yeah. So this year we've been nominated for 2 San Diego Music Awards, which is our first time getting nominated twice. Once for, again, for lack of a better term, they don't know what other category to throw us in, so they throw us in rock. And so it's best rock artist we're nominated for, and then we're also up for best local recording. So there's a number of categories, like 24 different categories, kind of similar to like a Grammys thing, best new artist, best album, best song, best, country album, best rap album, all that. It's multi-genre. And so we're up for a couple, and, again, we'll put the link in the notes there, but if you just go to San Diego Music, SanDiegoMusicAwards.com, you can just click the vote button, and we're like category 14 and number 22. And you can just do the drop down, put the Tourmaliners. You'll see 6 other artists. Ignore those. Just, vote for the Tourmaliners. We're up for the Live and Alive album for best local recording, and then for best rock artist. But some steep competition, but we could use your assistance. 50% of the award is based on the public vote, and then they have an academy that votes for the other 50%.
Oh, so nice.
It's a combination of the popular vote, so to speak, and then the academy. Every vote counts, and you can vote every day. And if you have multiple email addresses, like most of us have a work one, a home one, the kids have one, you can go in every single day. You can use every single email and vote off those.
Oh, nice.
If you so choose, you have time. It's a little time consuming, unfortunately. But you can I do 3 a day, and it's like 5. Takes me 5 minutes. So you
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Just 5 minutes out of your day, and SanDiegoMusicAwards.com. Vote for the Tourmaliners.
Awesome. So it's awards coming up. Go vote for the Tourmaliners. We have SG 101 Festival coming up this summer in August for the Tourmaliners. And what's going on with the Safaris?
Well, not a whole heck of a lot. Like I said, we're playing in Nashville, April 11th at the 5 spot, and it's just a door. If you go to thesurfaris.com or at Surfaris, SURFARARIS, you can get on social media and Facebook, and there'll be a link for directions and all that. But if you have 1 second though, I don't know how long your show is. You can tell me whether or not, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I notice a lot of times when I come on podcasts, I'm always talking about what we're doing because we're doing so much, but I really don't ever get to talk about the music as much as I like. And it occurred to me that, people sometimes ask, well, what makes you guys unique compared to maybe some other surf bands? And, there's a lot of great bands, but one of the things I learned at the Surfer Joe Festival was that every band pulls from their culture, whether they like it or not. It comes out of their playing. So like for instance, if you see Lorenzo, you hear this Italian thing in there. If you listen to the German bands, there's some kind of, I don't know if it's me, but it sounds like a little hint of Scorpions in there. I don't know what it is, or something. You know what I mean? Or an English band, and they'll sound a little like the Shadows, because they're using box amps or something. I don't know. So we have, obviously coming from, the center of surf music here in Southern California, but like I said, San Diego's got a little different vibe, and we blended a lot of styles from south of the border. I live a half hour from Mexico, so and growing up going down to Mexico and surfing and camping trips, and of course in our community we have a large Hispanic community. I live in Old Town, which is basically the oldest city in California. It's called the birthplace of California, as the little sign says when you come into my community. And you open up the window and you can smell the carne asada burning down in the restaurant.
Oh my God!
Blocks away. It's a pretty cool place to be. It's like they got the mamacitas out front cooking the tortillas. And you show up, you get fresh tortillas made right there from the lady. So naturally that's going to come out in your music. So a lot of our songs like Coyote, Con Permiso, Picante, a lot of our songs have kind of the Spanish either titles or, and if you look back at surf music, I've often asked my dad, where did surf music come from, you think? In terms of style. Of course, we have people like Dick Dale, I think he's Lebanese background. You hear a lot of those Middle Eastern, I think it's harmonic minor scales, maybe melodic minor. I don't know my theory is that great, but you hear that Middle Eastern kind of sound from the Middle East. You hear that. Then you listen to some of the songs like Malagueña. A lot of bands throw that into Miserlou, actually, combined the TheSurfaris did. And you hear flamenco from Spain, a lot of the Italian kind of spaghetti western-y kind of sound. And you'll hear that in a lot of the original surf melodies. And of course, like the Shadows, with Apache, and that was written by what's that guy's name? Ingman Jorgman or something like that. And he's from Sweden or something. You hear this the European kind of influences and melodies. And of course, you've got the country western, influence with the twangy Fender guitar or Fender amp with the reverb kind of thing. You'll hear a lot of country or rockabilly, Dwayne Eddy, all that kind of Nashville in surf as well. That people like Chris Casello, his new album, Surfin' Hayride, if you haven't picked that up yet, he's an awesome guitarist. He calls his music hillbilly surf, And I met Kenny Vaughn. He plays guitar for Marty Stewart in the Superlatives, and we were talking about it. They open up with Wipeout, and they do a hillbilly style Wipeout.
Oh wow!
On their set. Yeah, so it's like surf music is the root. I mean, you listen, of course, to Ventures. I mean, they had that kind of drier, clean guitar. We as the Tourmaliners, I love all of it, to be honest with you. I mean, some of the songs, you'll hear a heavy Ventures influence. Some of the songs you'll hear a TheSurfaris influence. A lot of Dick Dale. Of course, I grew up loving Dick Dale and seeing him as a kid and just going, got to do that. That's awesome. That's amazing. When you see a guy hooked up with like 3 to 6 Fender Dual Showman amps blasting Stratocaster through the reverb tank, dude, nothing better. It's pure joy to hear and feel it. But we've tried to incorporate a lot of it, but most of we even have on the first album, we have on our Tourmaline Dream, we got a song called Leilani's. It's got Hawaiian influence. We even use ukulele, and that kind of slack key or steel guitar kind of sound comes out. We've got songs like Green. That's a reggae kind of background. So we're not as purist as some would like. As a band, I wouldn't say we're a purist surf band. There's a lot of bands that seem to have to emulate exactly what's already done before. But me coming from the Safaris, I always looked at my dad and said, "Well, they did that. It's been done."
Yeah.
So I've always had kind of the interpretation of, okay, well, where can we take it? What's the next step?
Yeah.
And to some, that's not surf music anymore if you don't play it exactly like the Lively ones or exactly like so. But it's like to each its own. I guess you can debate that all you want in like Facebook group. But for me, I like to keep the surf guitar at the center, and then around the surf guitar, lead guitar, I like to sometimes change the rhythms behind it. And you'll hear bands do that. I mean, you listen to Dick's catalog, you listen to the Safaris catalog. They always were trying to add something. Lively ones. Some of the founders, they were always trying to add a different rhythmic element because you can only do that
Yeah.
I mean, after you've done that 40 times, it's like, well, let's switch it up, So we've written songs like Surfidia, the title track off our third album. I mean, that's like almost like a 50s doo-wop song, like Angel Baby or something, where it's instrumental. And we've done it kind of like Sleepwalk, but then we've turned Sleepwalk into, I do a version that's kind of akin to something like Brian Setzer would do,
Yeah, his is great.
Stuff. Oh yeah, I mean, I listened to that, I was floored, but there are certain elements of it I thought maybe you shredded just a little too much, so I backed it up. We took a little Santo and Johnny, took a little bit of Brian Setzer, took a little bit of the regular traditional surf, and kind of made it the Tourmaliners. Surfidia is from the word perfidia. I took a kind of a thing to kind of. That's probably one of my favorite Venture songs. And some people don't call them surf, but let's face it, the world calls them surf. I mean, we all know them from their surf. Not surf sound, but I don't care about all that stuff. What I like is it's great guitar music, and we all love it. And somehow the surf term is, even though most of the bands don't surf anymore, that's another thing about us. We actually surf. we're one of the surf bands that actually surfs. Surf music to me has been so pulled from the culture of actual surfing, and so we've stayed somewhat true to that culture because we still surf and we still live within the surf culture. I mean, I live 2 miles from the beach right now, so I mean that's a part of our sound as well. We try to stay true to those roots, which has its own flavor to it. So when you listen to the Tourmaliners, it's a lot of different spices, herbs and spices, as Colonel Sanders used to say. We cook up.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things that I would like to add. There's obviously, for me, when I listened to it, you were talking about the Hispanic community and how, I mean, there is a ton of Central and South American surf bands. And I heard, like, especially in your rhythm, your percussion, there's a little cumbia in there, which I really, really like when bands incorporate that. I the Hispanic community in the southern regions so much are relate to surf.
Oh yeah. There's a group here in town in San Diego called the Sleepwalkers, and they sound a lot like the Mavericks, right?
Yeah.
I went and saw the Mavericks at the Ryman Theater with my parents about a year ago. Man, they are so surfy. I mean, Rawl You know, he plays a Jazz Master or a Jaguar every time. He's got an awesome collection of that. And then I forget his guitar player's name. He plays a Telecaster through a couple of deluxe reverbs. And man, he does a lot of twangy, surfy stuff. But it's got that, you know, like you said, that cumbia and Tejano and all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Latin percussion kind of thing going. But man, they always love to have that twangy, surfy sounding guitar. You can always hear him just bust right into, you know, Walk Don't Run or something real quick. Just for fun.
Nice. Well, I want to, before we go, Deven, I want to thank you, and I want everybody to check out the links that Deven's going to provide in the description of the video, and we'll put them all down there, especially the one to vote for the San Diego Awards for the Tourmaliners, and that's really important because they're really working their butts off to get the word out about surf music. I appreciate about the band.
Right on. Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it. Watched a number of your shows here over the years, and glad to see you continuing with it. Thank you for the time letting me come on the show and talk with you once more.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You take care.
All right.
This one's called Surfidia.